Welcome back to Underrated Movies. I'm your guy. I'm your man, Mr. Alton Henry. And today I'm going to talk about a film that's been out in theaters, and I'm not necessarily say it's underrated. I think it is one of the best films of the year. It's probably the second best movie of the year for me. And I might go ahead and talk about my opinion about the dangers of inflation when it comes to budgeting your money with film. But what do I know? I don't know anything about that, but I'm talking about one battle after another. I've seen the film twice, opening weekend. I saw it Thursday night, and I saw it again uh, Saturday with my family, mom and brother. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Tiana Taylor, Chase Infinity, Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro. It's a dark comedy action thriller, considered as a big grand scale. And there's a bunch of reviews on it, but here. Um, Sent in some time of present day, the French 75, also known as a revolutionary well, I guess Antifa group parallel to the real world, is going around basically going against the government. They started the film, they strike a immigration camp to free people from those camps, and they're pretty much against the government. So things go south within the first 75, and the film jumps 16 years later of the colonel who was responsible for bringing down the French 75 is going after the remainders of the group who actually has a secret he needs to cover up. Meanwhile, members of the French 75, a burnt out, washed up Bob Fuergerson must rescue his daughter once she is kidnapped from Lockjaw, the man who is hunting down the remainders of the French 75. Woo! And that was 3 minutes in. And to me, this is my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson film. I like the guy. It would have to be go this, Inherent Vice, Punch Drunk Love, Magnolia. This film is not your typical action film. It's an action comedy, yes. Um, the action, when the action does happen, it doesn't necessarily feel like action scenes. It kind of reminds me of the film Conspiracy Theory, where the action feels very creative and experimental. Here you have this burnt out, washed up, pot smoking ex revolutionary who's pretty much on top of his game. He was pretty much a demolition expert from based on what they showed of his skills. And when he is raising his daughter, he gets Leonardo DiCaprio gets a signal that his daughter is being hunted by the colonel, and he's on his way to pretty much meet his rendezvous with some team members, get a weapon, and go rescue her. And then you have all these other characters that kind of intertwine with it. What I really do appreciate about this movie that it doesn't just focus on DiCaprio's character. It There's a big prologue. The big prologue film of this movie, and from what the trailer tries to sell you, it feels tonally jumbled with balancing dark comedy and action thrills. For the first hour, close to the first hour or first act of this movie, where you have Tiana Taylor and Leonardo DiCaprio, who's pretty much the lead in this first arc of the movie. Tiana Taylor, she's more of the main star in the first hour or first Yeah, about like first hour or so of this film, uh, where her character is madly kind of in love with DiCaprio's character, but then spoiler alert, things get a little bit shitty between her and Lockjaw, but that's all I'm gonna say. And then things go south with his French 75. And what I really, really appreciate with this film that it's a risky film. It's a risky, bold movie. The acting is superb. I mean, this is actually one of my favorite roles of Sean Penn. I mean, the guy is phenomenal. I mean, he was intense way back in the '80s when I saw him in another movie I reviewed called Casualties of War. He played a very intimidating and scary and bully villain in that film. Here, he plays a very somewhat uniquely cartoonic kind of character, but it kind of has the same tone. This movie has the same tone like Inherent Vice, which the what's the author's name? Thomas was it Fecon or something who also wrote that film because this movie, One Battle After Another, is based off a novel called Vinland, another novel of his, um, which I could admire that Paul Thomas Anderson really adores this man's work. Um, there are some Sean Penn's performance here. I could see him winning the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, and it's kind of unique. And when I say that, especially how the film plays out, it feels like Sean Penn's kind of the main star of the film, or at least it focused more of his character throughout the whole film. Because his character, after the first part, 25 minutes or so of the first movie, his character pretty much impacts all the other characters in this film. And they're the reason why things go the way they go in this movie. And I actually like that you don't know where this film's going to go. You can't really predict what's happening. And it's done in a way to where you're kind of just taken aback and you have to just sit along for the ride and witness what's going to transpire next. Chase Infinity, a newcomer, very, very, very awesome. It also kind of feels like she's kind of part of the lead too. DiCaprio does feel like his character gets shifted in and out a bit. But it's like the film. It's about it's about like a generational struggle of parents having to deal with a certain conflict that impacts their children, and they're trying to find a way to avoid that and to protect their kids. I mean, these DiCaprio's character, you know, they're technically, I guess, the word terrorist. I mean, I could see that this film will garner some controversy because of the angle the movie chooses to focus on. You see why there might be a lot of discomfort where you're following a protagonist who destroys government facilities on site. So there's something there. Um, as the idea of you're trying to comprehend what the story is trying to say and trying to comprehend what the world building of what this movie is all about. This movie is a joyride. It's an adventure film. It never lets up. And when they say it's like a chase sequence, it's a 2.5 hour, close to 3 hour long chase sequence. They do mean that. Now, not saying it's like action throughout the whole film, but it's just paced so well that it's always something after another, and you're constantly um, glued to the screen. At least for me, I was constantly glued to the screen of what was going to happen next. What I was let down for maybe a few aspects of the film, but I still love the film. for a few reasons, and this is kind of a spoiler. When the action happens, it happens. Kind of reminds me of the setup of how Ben Affleck's The Town was. Um, the film is not very action heavy. It's very story driven, which is cool because it. When you watch an action film, you're more anticipated with the action sequences than you are with the story. But Paul Thomas Anderson did it. He's a master of storytelling. Kept me glued to the screen. I was anticipating a little bit more action, but when the action does hit, it is intense. It is intense as hell. There are quite a few moments where I really was really into these sequences, and there's a car chase sequence where it's like I know it's being overhyped, and it is hyped to a limit, but it's more how the film was shot. Masterfully directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, and I will love to see him tackle more action films from here on out. I would love to see filmmakers who specify in a specific, and I mentioned this before, specifying a specific genre. I would love to see them tackle action, like Martin Scorsese's doing action. I would love to see him do an action film. So there's action sequences that are memorable, um, but there's just not a whole lot. And if they do, they do feel gritty and realistic. And through certain character choices, it made the action sequences don't last too long. It reminds me the action sequences how they were kind of set up with the film Conspiracy Theory. If you don't remember that, I talked about that film a while back too. And another aspect of the film that might irritate a few viewers, because it's like when you watch the film, especially regarding around Leonardo DiCaprio's character, and I'm trying to think really hard about the logic of how the story unravels and certain character choices. Like, I'm really curious. I wonder if DiCaprio's character, because things kind of unravel around his character. So I wonder, because there's certain moments in the film where there's plot elements that happen, but they resolve without the impact of DiCaprio's character. So the heart of this movie is a father-daughter story that he is going to try to go rescue his daughter. And and this is kind of a spoiler. Events kind of resolve itself around his character. So he doesn't I don't so he doesn't fully get that payoff. Now there's moments in the film that feel realistic where he's trying to get to his goal. Eventually he does, but the way his character gets utilized in a way, he and Benicio del Toro are like the comedic standouts, and probably Sean Penn's character are like the comedic standouts of this movie. Because without it, this movie would be a very serious film. And I watched it with my mom. There was a sequence in there. I guess it brought her a lot of anxiety. And I think it had to do. There was a riot sequence in there. Um, but it felt like all these other events around DiCaprio's character could have been resolved without him, which I don't think he would have had. What I'm saying is, I didn't think his character would have made a big impact to the overall story based on what was happening, for the exception of what the film, harder the film is. Um, that's just thinking back of the film and after seeing it twice. Um, I wish he had more stakes. I mean, the stakes were high, but I wish there was. I wish he did more. I wish he. I wish his character had a bigger impact in the film. If that makes sense from what I'm trying to explain. I'm not trying to spoil too much for those who haven't seen it. I highly implore you to go see this because the movie ain't doing too well. And I actually kind of anticipated, and this is the dangers. The movie cost $130 million. In fact, I heard it might be even more. That doesn't even include marketing. But the things that go on to this movie, I'm just appalled by the cost of what it took to make this movie. Maybe the actors, okay, because I think this is the second. This is Paul Thomas Anderson's second film through Warner Brothers. Maybe third because of I guess Magnolia's New Line Cinema that's bought from. So technically, it's third, kind of. Maybe the marketing, even the marketing, I would say there's like the third trailer. The third trailer has like a minute and a half that I personally thought it was my favorite out of all of them. They should have went hard on that trailer. And there was a small little TV spot of that I saw on Instagram that pretty much told what the story was, at least the main aspect of that story. If they went with that, I think they would have had a better chance selling this movie. I think to the core, it's a father trying to rescue his daughter's story. And there's another TV spot I actually like. It's like a minute. Um, I think if they sold every single trailer, I mean, the first teaser was kind of like that. I mean, it was about him saying, "I need to find my daughter," and then if they sold it like that with some of the more comedic elements, I think they would have had a. I think it would have done a little bit better. And one, also the movie cost too much. They should have figured out. They should have talked to Paul Thomas Anderson, or they should have, or I don't know. They should have went back and said, you know what, we need to figure out how we can minimize budget because all the movies that we've released for every single studio have been bombing. Could it be that just maybe audiences aren't really interested in movies that well anymore? I mean, I don't know. I mean, everything everywhere all at once did pretty well, luckily. But that movie was 3 years ago now. I blame it on inflation. A movie like this should have been like 80 or 90 million. Especially what goes on into the film. Um, it didn't. I mean, I'm glad it was shot on location and a lot of practical effects. I'm looking back at some of the. If you've seen some of the other A24 movies I've reviewed, um, I don't know what the budget was. I'm referring to movies like Backstabbing for Beginners, A Woman Walks Ahead, The Tree, The Sea of Trees, like independent to close mid budget movies. This movie should have been mid budget. Like I just I can't think of besides the actors' pay and the scale of what this movie, from what I've seen from this movie, it shouldn't have cost 130 million. It shouldn't have cost $130 million. It should have cost at least 75. I don't know for budget. If the marketing budget hits close to a million, to 100 million, maybe that would have been feasible. But the budget should have been at least 65 to 75 because it barely passed 100 mil. And they still need at least 130 mil, 150, at least $200 million to make its money back. And it's been 2 weeks since the film's been out. It's been 2 weeks. And then I just saw something that they announced when they're going to release it for streaming or just available for online. And excuse me, sorry. I think they're going to release it online around late November. That's concerning, man. I don't know if they just need to start cutting crew. I don't, and that sucks because that's what's going on right now with the industry. They cutting crew. They cutting. They cutting a lot. They trying to, and unfortunately, it just sucks, man. I mean, look, I know a movie's not the end of the world. It's not. It's not. Okay. I mean, there's a lot of more important things going on right now than a movie. There is. Okay. Everybody's trying to survive with their money, trying to be more conservative with their money. And I get that. I understand that. So whatever you got going on, if spending money is the last thing you want to do on a movie, then I understand. Okay. I understand. This movie is terrific. But this movie was way overpriced. It should have not cost 130. It shouldn't even hit 100. It should hit below that. Um, I mean, even like like even like man, I'm thinking back to like you know, building models and set models and trying to make it look like real, but blow it up, and I've seen what that looks like. It sometimes you can't get away with how it looks because you could tell it's a model. But I don't know, man. I'm just saying, like there got to be. I think this is what's going to happen. I think they're going to start cracking down on people. It's like you need to be this skilled to try to save money for what we're giving you. So if you're a visual effects artist, if you practical, all right, if you know how to do this, do it in a way that's cheap. Do it in a way that is going to save us a lot of money. Okay, we just can't feed you guys this. But I understand. I also worked on set. Keep that light. Uh, things do get delayed, and you're renting places, you're paying for these places, and things. A lot of the time, things don't go as planned. Okay, a lot of the times things don't go as planned, so it drives the costs up. You got to pay more to rent. You got to pay more to stay. You got to pay more to rent. It keeps going up. I understand that, and that sucks. But they really got to figure out how to secure their budget and make it less. Otherwise, we're gonna have more theaters closing. We're gonna have more this film related stuff contract. Um, there's studios trying to buy each other out. Um, and also there is competition with other sources of content you can watch that you ain't got to spend a dime at the theater. I mean, there's people who just don't care about going to the theater, and that's fine. All right. I mean, I may reach my limit if they keep jacking the prices on tickets. Then yeah, I'm gonna get more hesitant on going. Everybody is trying to survive, and I don't mean to go deviate from the move from talking about movies right now, but I understand that there is a lack of appeal. I mean, there's political stuff about the film too. I just don't. Yeah, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not a politics person. I'm not. Um, so everybody has their reasons not to go see this. I'm saying see it. It's a good film. Entertaining. It's thrilling. Its story's very well crafted, and I admire the craft that Paul Thomas Anderson took went making this film. Say it took him 20 years to. Uh, and I've been excited for this whole film throughout the whole year or most of the whole year. Like I've been watching the trailer almost every single day leading up to this movie because I was so excited for it. And the reason I was excited because Paul Thomas Anderson is directing an action film, his first throughout his whole career. I would love for these other filmmakers who specialize in a specific genre to tackle action. Brian De Palma, for those who don't know who he is, he made the first Mission Impossible film back in '96. My still favorite Mission Impossible film. Made an action film. He made a few. He made this film called Domino, which was straight to DVD. They got like two action scenes I really liked. I loved how suspenseful it was directed. Fortunately, I'm sad to say how his career fell. Aside from that, you know, um, I would love for Martin Scorsese to direct an action film. The closest action he's directed dramas that has action sequences in them, like The Aviator, the crash scene. You have a few shootouts with The Departed. You have this riot fight scene in Gangs of New York. So he's not shy away from doing action sequences. I would love him to do one as long as he has time to do it on Earth. I know he's trying to do another gospel film and a crime film with Dwayne Johnson. Um, and so forth. Um, because these filmmakers have visions about where they want to, what they want to see in a certain genre. I would love for that. Spike Lee made his action debut with the two war films he did, Miracle Saint Anna, and okay, and so forth. Okay, you get my point. So this film was amazing. I'm definitely getting it on DVD if DVDs are still around. This won't be for everybody for sure. It is a long film. Um, there could be some messaging in the film that you may not be on board. And the idea of what the film is really about, you may not be on board with it at all. So just keep in mind, this is a divisive film. It's also a very funny film. It's actually one of the funniest films of the year so far. So one battle after another. Have you seen it? Comment below. Let me know what you thought about the film. And have you seen it at the theater again? And let me know what is your favorite underrated film. And let me know what is your favorite PTA film. Oh yeah.